Hello there, and welcome back to another Space Marine VOD review. This time, the player we're going to be looking at is MonkeyMarkiak. Now, it's been a little while since I did one of these, and the reason for that is because I didn't actually think I had any footage to work with. However, that wasn't exactly the case because Monkey did send me a video all the way back in December. I just didn't see it. But thankfully, because Monkey's a nice guy, he isn't holding this against me, and today we are going to be having a look at his footage and seeing what we think of it. So, let's run the video and see what happens. So straight out the gates, we are opening up with a slightly strange pick in the form of plasma gun. Now, there are numerous reasons why I absolutely despise this weapon, but nonetheless, this is the one he has selected. Not for the entire video, he does switch it up to a more traditional stalker melter a bit later on. But for the moment, let's see how he does here. Okay, so going off with an F charge, that's a good start. First of all, taking some shots with a pistol, and a little bit indecisive here. Okay, so let's start off talking a bit about the situation here. Now, you probably know this already, but just in case you don't, obviously the plasma gun does a lot more damage to armor than it does with the pistol, than it does to health, while the pistol is the reverse. The pistol is very good against health, but not so good against armor. So, generally speaking, the playstyle you want to be adopting with this combination of weapons is to strip armor with the plasma gun and then finish with the pistol. Now, if we go back on that slightly, you're taking some pistol shots here, whereas I would much prefer you to be shooting with plasma gun and then fast swapping to the bolt pistol. Now, I noticed that I've watched the video already, but I've noticed that you haven't done any fast swaps at all. So I think before we progress, I'm going to show you the fast swap, just in case you haven't been already. So, here we are in Space Marine, we have a plasma gun, we have a bolt pistol, and this is the sort of thing we want to be doing with this loadout, whether it be just some shots like this, and then finishing off with the bolt pistol. Now, how am I doing this, you might ask? So, the key to fast swapping effectively is to use the sprint animation, because if you look, normally, if we're standing still, a bit of a delay. But while sprinting, it's all instant. So, the correct combination here is to fire your charge shot or take some shots, and then sprint and switch, and then shoot with the pistol, which, done extra fast, you can sort of flip between the two with no hesitation. Now, the thing that usually catches people out with this technique is cancelling the sprint, because as you can see, if I shoot and then sprint, there's a slight delay. Now, the way to avoid this is by cancelling the sprint with a sidestep. Now, this is something that you might be doing unconsciously, if you notice, just by pressing one of the side buttons, whether it be A or D, before I release W, that cancels the stop running animation. So, basically what you want to be doing is firing some shots, then sprinting, switching, cancelling, and then shooting. It takes a bit of practice, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it is something that is absolutely essential for all weapons, in fact, on tactical, not just with the plasma gun, but it's most noticeable with the plasma gun. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent, let's get back to the video. So we're coming from the left side. Oh yes, and that's another thing, I'm just going to tab back into this. From this position here, this is a very, very dangerous corner, and especially against, interestingly enough, Chimpum, who likes to go to this corner very early, because from here, especially without a melter gun, you're completely defenseless from this angle here. If he has a melter gun, he'll just step out and kill you. Now, how do you get around this? Well, you take a melter gun, first of all, but if you don't have a melter gun, but you have a plasma gun, using the splash damage from the plasma gun to check the corner is quite important. Even so, it's likely to get you killed, so in practice, just take a plasma gun, take a melter gun, and take the corner slowly, and then you can shoot anyone here before they can get to you. But anyway, it wasn't a problem here because he is already killed, and we're moving on to B point here. Okay, there's a target coming from the left side by the looks of things. Okay, so we know there's an enemy melter here. Let's see what the plan is now. Okay. Oh, this is risky. Oh, he didn't see you. Wow, okay. I'm really not keen on that, to be honest, because he's got a melter gun and we don't here. All he has to do here is just shoot you. Like, you're literally running into melter range here, which is pretty much suicide. So, in reality, your best bet here is to just shoot him from here, honestly. Like, I'm not sure why you're running in on him. Maybe you're going for the charge or something because he is low, but honestly, your best bet is just switch to pistol because you can clearly see he's either low on armor or has none, so you can just finish him off in maybe 2-3 shots. But we do chase him. He doesn't see us. Let me go in with a knife here. Yeah, I'm not keen on that, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. But next time, please just shoot him. And again here's another thing that I was saying about earlier. Plasma gun first when the target has armor, then switch to pistol for the follow-up. Doesn't matter, he does go down. There's a melter behind us. Lost track of him a little bit there, I think, but that's fine. Still alive. Right, okay, definitely want to be evading as soon as you see something like this. 2 targets, one of them with a lance cannon, no armor, you need to go. This is the direction to evade in. I mean, this way could work too, but staying to just shoot at them, not what we want to be doing here. So, you do go down, and I believe at this stage you correctly gauge that it is time for a swap. So you're using the old favourite. You've got Melter Gun, you've got Stalker Bolter, you've got Larimer's Blessing, and you've got Stims. Now, I actually don't think this is the best choice for you, but we'll come to why that is a little bit later on. For now, this is sort of, I suppose, the most meta loadout that people seem to be playing a lot at the moment. It is the loadout that I play, of course. So we're going to be using some animation cancels, I think. Did we see that? Am I going mad? Okay. I think there was an attempt at it there. Skip that. Okay. First look at the Stalker Bolter. And honestly, that's very good shooting. Yeah, if you just watch that back quickly. You correctly waited until he was in a nice open passageway, because if you shoot at him there, you know he's going to stay there in cover. Then you make the first shot count, and he shows himself a little bit, and that's honestly very good shooting. I'm impressed with that. Have we reloaded though? Okay, we're reloading now, that's fine. Moving up to this left-hand approach. This is honestly a pretty good shot, pretty good position to be shooting from, so that's fine. Moving around the back, reloading, good. Okay, we're rushing some shots here. If you just watch that back again, your crosshair placement honestly isn't too bad here, but you're just firing too quickly for that range. If we just tab back into Space Marine real quick, I will switch to that loadout. Right, so I've mentioned this in previous VOD reviews, but I'll go over it again very quickly in case you haven't seen those. At this sort of range, you need to time your shots a bit more carefully, because if you just spam fire, in fact if I shoot at this wall it'll be more visible, there's a lot of spread. So at this sort of range, the pace you want to be shooting at is something like this. That'll give you the most accuracy balanced with rate of fire. Just something to bear in mind for next time. Okay, so we see this guy's injured. Let's go in on him with Melter. That's good. Correct decision. Got away with it a little bit there. Okay, now, not terrible, but there's something we can do to avoid that risk, which is take the corner a bit wider, because you know he's damaged, you know he's low on health, but you're going really, really close around here. Now, if we just go back on that a little bit, the position I would prefer you to take, hold on, is to go this way, much wider, because he can one-shot you from this range here if you go straight to the corner, but he can't if you're back here, and because he's damaged, you will one-shot him. So if we just tab back into Space Marine quickly, whoops, and we go to that position. From here, you ran straight round here, and he melted you at roughly the same distance, and you're honestly quite lucky to survive. So instead, I'm going to be taking it around this way, shooting from here, because if he's standing here, he will not be able to one-shot you, but because he was that injured, you probably could have. Just something to bear in mind, like I say. We do get away with it here, though. So he dies. Popping stims just as a precaution. I don't mind that too much, because you're not sure who's going to shoot you from the back, so that's fine. Okay, so we got a target up there. Now, why are we being so careful? Okay, admittedly, we do have only 2 rounds left in the Stalker. Should have reloaded that a little while ago. So opting into the fight. Okay, I'm going to assume that you thought you had full ammo here on the Stalker. At this sort of range, the Stalker, the Storm Bolter isn't that dangerous. So at this point here, the moment you see him, I would totally opt into that engagement. If I had 10 rounds in my Stalker, at this range, you can kill him with relative ease, and even if you can't kill him with relative ease, it's very easy to just evade. By going into this passage here and then peeking back out at him, you're essentially giving him time to realize what he's up against, and he can easily evade back that way. I don't mind you playing it safe. I think if it were me, I would have opted into that shootout though. So in this case, do play it safe. Finally getting the reload in. And yep, this is a good position to just hang out while you're regenning. Got a flank on Nathaniel. Yeah, it is also worth noting that Nathaniel Garrow is in this match, who is a fellow GK, and he is on the other team. So that's, I suppose, an extra threat to deal with, someone who you need to be aware of whenever you can be. So we're taking this bridge approach, which is quite alright. Okay, getting the kill on the Thunderhammer. That was actually pretty close. He did get right up close to you. So I don't think he had impen, which is why you're able to one-shot him. But if he didn't have impen, he would have killed you. So I would have wanted you to follow that up with a knife swing or just something like that to knock off that final 3%. Because, you know, it's a bit risky otherwise. And you did go for the charge, but that's just a bit of a slow startup. In fact, if we tab back into Space Marine, please tab back into Space Marine. There we go. You see the difference in speed. So if I shoot and then charge compared to shoot swing, it's much, much quicker. And at that sort of range, that can make all the difference, because with a charge, you would not have got the animation off in time. With the knife, very quick, you would have just about been able to get it off. Or the stun, they're both roughly equal speed. But, again, got away with it, so no problem there, really. And we're holding on top. Okay, now we're aware that there are targets beneath, but this isn't a terrible place to be standing while the point is contested, because of targets like this. Let's see how we can deal with this one. Okay, again, very efficient, very good shooting. Headshot followed up by some body shots. No issues there at all. And another Stormbolter. Okay, missed some shots on the las cannon. Stormbolter's coming up to us, but we're playing very safe. And this is interesting to me, actually. I would have totally gone in for that. From this position here, this is fine to be engaging him with the Stalker, but the moment you see him coming up here, get him, go get him. You can rush him. If you can get up close to him, and he's probably around about here, so if you can get to there, he's dead. Again, playing it safe. There's nothing particularly wrong with playing it safe. I just feel like here was a little bit of a missed opportunity. You're not quite sure how to handle that one, so I think you're hoping that he comes up to you here. But a Stormbolter who knows what he's doing is never really going to do that, but he does. Okay, now's your chance to get him. You've got the shot, you've broken his armor, but we've fallen back into cover. Okay, firing some hip fire. Okay. I'm not quite sure why we're firing when there's nobody there. You're wasting your ammunition, and also it's just extremely inaccurate. I'm sure you're aware of this, but just to double up on that, this is not accurate fire. You'll miss targets at this sort of range on very reliably, I would say. So instead, if you really want to hip fire, stand still for it. So from this position here, you've broken his armor here. You're about here, roughly. Stand still. You see how accurate that is? When you're not moving your feet, even hip fire is accurate. Rather than wasting ammo and also just not getting the accurate shots. So falling back is fine in that scenario when you've lost your health and armor lead. Okay, turning back to support tactical. Missing some shots there again, firing a little bit fast, but that's actually a very nice shot. Let's watch that again. Yeah, love it. That's really good. Okay, we've got a tactical here. Not quite getting the damage we wanted there, but again, that's another scenario where the fast swap would have come in very handy. In fact, I would argue that that's the most valuable use for the fast swap, which is where you want to finish off a damaged target from Melter. Ooh, that's risky, actually. If we go back on that, so we know that he's going around here. You can predict that he's looking to come around this way. So, turning your back on him like this, very risky, very risky. And this time he can close the distance, and indeed he does. Fortunately, not enough to one-shot, so we do get away with it. That was just a bit risky. I'm not so keen on that one. He has gone this way though, so we can get the flank on him. Okay, not quite in time to save the teammate, but that's not really your fault. And there's a VL firing from somewhere, not entirely sure where though. Okay, he's firing from there. Ooh, I'm not sure about this route. Okay, right, yes. from this position here, when your armor's broken and you know there's a las cannon there, this is not where you want to be. You need to go, well, in this case, I would say this way. Just F charge off that way. I think you are familiar with the F charge and the techniques surrounding that. Just gives you a little burst of speed. From this position, you just need to get out of line of sight. Because this guy here, he's going to nail you all day, every day if you stick around. And by scoping in here, you're basically just saying, shoot me. And that's exactly what he does, funnily enough. Just a minor positional error there. So, back to spawn. Again, I've said this before, but Stalker Bolter against Las Cannon is a really, really bad matchup. All the Las Cannon needs to do is hit one shot, whereas you need to hit 3 if your aim is perfect, and probably more like 5 or 6 depending on the host and everything. Okay, so we've got a... That's quite unlucky, actually. I did not expect that to one-shot you. I think I would have stayed and tried to shoot him as well here. Because you get the headshot, he's one shot from death. I'm really surprised. Was that mastercrafted? No. I'm really curious as to where that exactly landed, because going by the grenade icon and the sound, that doesn't sound close enough. Well, either way, might have wanted to play it safe, but I think I would probably have taken the risk like that and probably died in the exact same way, to be honest. Okay, using the F charge to get a little bit of distance there. I think that was the F charge. If it's not the F charge, then I'll just show you the difference quickly. So you can obviously RMB off, but that's the regular charge. But more valuable is the F charge. If you go right to the edge, then you jump, you get a load more distance. You can do that off all sorts of ledges like this. You can use it to close the distance, like here. If you're targeting someone around here, you can just really surprise them with this burst of speed, as opposed to having to maybe charge cancel your way up there, just a little bit quicker. But I'm not sure if you're using it here or not. If you're not, then it's just something that will make you just a little bit quicker. So, okay, dithering a little bit. I presume just checking for threats. So we go up to the left-hand side. Oh no, we're going underneath. Okay. I'm not massively keen on the underground route unless it's a real lockdown up top. Okay, in this situation here, I would really like you to be running with your melter out. Just because you don't know what's going to be coming from this direction especially. I noticed that you're really focusing hard on this direction with where you're paying attention to, but really, in this scenario, the threat is going to come from this side, because a lot of players, they really, really like to hold this corner. If they've seen you coming round, in fact, if we just go back on that slightly, notice these holes here up top. These ones here. You can be spotted through there, so if there's a defender and he sees you running underneath, guess where he's going to go? If you guess right, he's either going to be up top here shooting down, or he's going to be on this corner here. So you really, really need to have that melter equipped, just as a precaution. And same again here, honestly. That's an even more common position to hold with a melter. Okay, so we've seen Nathaniel here. I'm really curious as to why you don't just kill him. Because he's got armor broken. You've got the Stalker Bolter equipped, but that does the job just fine. If we just try and get a good look at that scenario just there. Just shoot him. Like 2 shots, he's got no armor, that'll kill him. Again, like I've said, just stand still. Bang, bang, he's dead. See how little spread there is there. At that sort of range, you can nail him all day, every day. But instead, we do pull back. And stand for some precaution. I mean, I get it. It's Nathaniel, he's scary. And a lot of the time, he will win that melter fight if you let him get that close. So honestly, the player afterwards is fine. I just would have wanted you to try and finish him before he got the opportunity to reach that sort of distance. But he does go down, that's a good kill. Okay, that's that Storm Bolt again. Not sure where he went exactly. Okay, again in this scenario, I wouldn't have minded you having a go at him with the Stalker up close, maybe some hip fire, or maybe even the pistol. Because he was visibly low, but either way, your team managed to deal with him. I don't really have a problem with holding this far back. I quite like this position. Wait, whoa. Hello? What did I just witness? What? Oh, he's freaking out, but okay. You are able to save your teammate from the spooky warping assault marine. That's a good kill. Okay, heading back up top. Yeah, I quite like this angle actually. Covers a nice big portion of map. Okay, Just typing for a little bit. Ooh, standing a bit still there for my liking. You can always be at risk from this sort of angle up here. If we just go back on that slightly. Standing still around about there. Okay, well, it's not a big deal. Just be mindful of when you do stand still. Just missing some shots there. Not quite fast enough to save your teammate, but again, you do get the kills. That's fine. Nothing really to worry about there. That's interesting, actually. Did you not see him here? I guess maybe not. Yeah, because as soon as you turn around, it's the guy without the name tag. This is your target. But I don't think you quite spot him in time. No, just something to be a little bit aware of. If you see any silhouettes of enemies or any sort of figure that moves without a name tag, that's an enemy. Unless, of course, your game mode is without name tags, which is a very strange private mode setting. You finish off the assault. You can indeed. That's good shooting. Oh, staring at the clouds. Typing again. Yeah, trash talk him. Trash talk him. Do it. Oh well, that's close enough to trash talk. Back up to this position here, I see. Okay, I would say from this position here, you really want to be targeting the person who's most likely to shoot back. And if I'm not mistaken, that's this guy up here. He's the one that's going to be doing some shooting, and he looks like he's distracted, so this is the target I would go for over a target coming from here. In fact, if we have a quick look at the field of view from this position, so if you're holding up here on the bridge, you're relatively restricted actually in terms of what you can see, but it's something like this. So where should you prioritize? Ideally, you want to be prioritizing people coming from up here, but if that's not a problem, then you want to be looking further back here. But again, like I say, targets that are just moving past this position here, harder to hit. If you've got someone here, that's prime for you, and especially since they have a pretty good line of sight, if we just use a different color for that, they have this sort of line of sight. They have a much wider line of sight than you. So while that does mean that they're more likely to be distracted, it does make that a slightly more dominant position over this area of map here. So I just prefer you to be focusing on this one here. Not a massive deal, just something to bear in mind. In this case, we do go for the assault. Almost get him, actually. If the last cannon had hit the shot, probably would have been okay there. Moving back around to the center. Ooh, standing very still there. Okay, that's actually a very, very risky play. From this position here, you have to assume that the last cannon has seen you. If you can see him, he will have seen you. So he's holding better cover than you. You're actually standing completely in the open. And this is actually something I noticed, because I have watched the other videos that you sent in. I just picked this one because it was the most, I suppose, the most interesting. There are more things that I could talk about here than any other. So from this position here, if he knows what he's doing, you're dead, because he will headshot you. You're standing still, you're standing out of cover, this is a las cannon, you're dead. Even if you start landing some shots on him, he's still going to get you. So really, you want to be a bit careful here. And in fact, if you want to shoot from this position, I'll show you where you should be shooting from. And in fact, this relates to a lot of different occasions. Monkey himself is playing the game right now. So we just head up top here. You were shooting from here to this position. Now, where we want to be shooting from is more like here. And the reason for that is because if you look at the Space Marines model, you can see how much is sticking out to the left. If I'm aiming here, my whole backpack, from this side I mean, my whole backpack and my whole shoulder pad are both exposed. But if I'm shooting from this side, you can only really see my gun and maybe a bit of my head and torso and some of my legs. In general, you just want to be shooting from left-handed cover, because it's so much easier to shoot without getting hit back. From here again, my whole body is exposed. There's no way to shield my right-hand side. From this side, my whole left-hand side is hidden. But anyway, in that sort of scenario, you really want to be moving your feet too. So in fact, I'll stay tabbed into Space Marine. When you're shooting, you want to be moving in little circles. It will make it slightly harder to aim, but the more practice you get, the better you'll get at it. So this is the motion I'm going to be doing here. It's just little figures of 8 in little circles. Now, why is it not side to side? If you notice, there's a little bit of delay here. There's a little bit of hang time on each side. Not to mention that if someone's firing from either side here, then as far as they're concerned, I'm standing still. So, just try and strafe in circles like this. I'll just make you that little bit harder to hit, and against something like a las cannon, that can make all the difference. Especially if they're a little more inexperienced, just these little circles will really throw their aim off. So that's what I prefer you to be doing here. But you do get away with it. Again, it's a little bit of a clunky escape route. Since you are closer to the right-hand side, the moment you take that hit, you'll be going to here. Because at this position, if you go to the left, he can hit you again. He hits the first shot, here he could shoot you, here he could shoot you, and you're finally in cover there. But fortunately he doesn't. So, again, it doesn't end up mattering too much, but it's just something that will help you out against some more advanced opponents. Firing too fast again here, honestly. You really want to be slowing that down at longer ranges. Oh, that's a risky escape. That's such a risky escape. From here, I don't know why you choose to double back, because you're completely exposed from this whole position here. This route, from here to here, you're going to get shot. I'm surprised he didn't actually. I don't mind the animation cancels to get there. I think that's fine. But just something to bear in mind. And also, I think you're a little bit clunky with those weapon swaps. Ideally, you want to be switching between your your melter gun and your stalker bolter, like so. This is probably the optimal way of doing it, because the bolt pistol can be a little clunky when it comes to weapon swaps. So just switch between the two. It'll keep you moving at speed. Anyway, back to the video. You've retaken this high ground. Just reloading, I see. That's fine. We've got an assault coming up here. Got away with it a little bit there, actually, and then stimming up. Okay. You've got away with it. But this is something that we can talk about. Looks like you might actually kill him as well, but we'll go back on this first. The timing of your stims I don't really like. So obviously, first of all, I don't need to tell you that you should have evaded forward from this or just ignored it entirely and kept moving forward. But popping stims when you're at full health is a bit of a waste, because all that does is give you the damage resistance, whereas when you're playing with Laraman's Blessing, you really want to be using that to heal. So, about here, okay, that was a headshot, so it would have killed you if you didn't pop stims, but generally speaking, you want to wait until you've taken damage, reason being because you can then tank everything else that follows up while you're continuing to heal until you reach 100 health. Now, I suppose this is as good a time as any to actually talk about loadout choices here. The reason why you play with Laraman's Blessing and combat stims is for that regen. You want to be doing it under fire, and while you certainly can use it for instances where you want to tank more, like against melter guns and las cannons in particular, I would say the main value comes from healing under fire. And the only reason you can realistically play this loadout is with the fast swap. Now, obviously I play without the melter perk and with Laraman instead, but until you've nailed down that fast swap, I'd really, really strongly recommend swapping out Laraman's Blessing for the melter perk. We've seen a couple of videos from other players with the melter perk, and it just adds that little layer of reliability for close-up battles, especially against things like Devastators with Iron Halo, which you can't one-shot anyway. It just really helps you to have that extra burst damage so close to the first shot. And if you got the fast swap nailed down, then you certainly can mitigate that a bit with the bolt pistol. But especially if you don't know that, you really want to be playing with the melter perk instead. And at that point, stims are fairly useless, because you really are taking them to complement Laraman's Blessing most of the time. So the loadout I would advise here is still stick with melter gun and stalker bolter, but instead of the perks and loadouts, the war gear I should say, I would recommend taking frag grenades and the melter perk instead. But in this case, it doesn't matter too much. Taking some shots at your teammates, but you do get the kill here and then pay the price for it. Again, just something to bear in mind, that player is still there, and you just want to be playing your lines of sight a little bit more carefully. But you're able to get the kill on the assault, so it's not really the end of the world. You do trade it out. Yeah, so you do know the F charge. It's just something to bear in mind. So we know there's a tactical down here. Okay, that's a difficult shot. I don't mind that too much. Another one going here. Okay, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again just to reinforce the point. At this distance, you're firing too fast and you're standing too still. That's the main thing I want you to take away from this, is that your stalker aim I'm actually very impressed with. I think you're doing really well with that. I just want you to be moving your feet. It will probably make you a little bit less accurate initially, but it will really make a difference when you're fighting against people who are going to actually hit you back, especially like las cannons and stalker bolters, because if you're standing still, they will usually out DPS you, no matter how good your aim is, because it's just that bit easier to just hit you in the head. Okay, yeah, missing those shots, but that's fine. It looks like this match is going to be a win. Oof, yes, okay, that was some sharp shooting there. There's not really any way to mitigate that risk. This is just a rather risky approach in general. When you're moving up here, that's what I said at the beginning, but I was talking more about melter gun at the time. From this position here, it's just so easy to take you down. In this scenario, let's just see if there was any way you could have reacted to that. Maybe. I'm not really going to criticize you too harshly for this, but if you're really on your toes, if you can evade to the side, one way or the other, just get a roll in, and then if you're still exposed, which you will be obviously from this position, which is why it's so dangerous, pop stims, well, turn your back and then pop stims. Something like this, if I just show you. Go to that position. So obviously when you're running up here and you take some fire, your first priority is to change up your target profile. So if you can do that, that might save you. If you're still under fire, maybe roll, then pop stims and turn your back. Now, why do we turn our back? The reason for that is because we have a backpack, and that can often hide your head hitbox. You see, if you're firing from the back, unless you're using a penetration weapon like the las cannon, which even then will sometimes still body shot instead of headshot, you're just concealing your head hitbox, and especially against non-penetrating weapons, it's simply impossible to headshot you. And especially when you're healing with Laraman, that'll just give you that little bit of tankiness and may have allowed you to survive, and then you could have got off to here or something like that, maybe. But anyway, I'm not criticizing you, I'm just saying that's maybe something you could have considered for next time, if you are able to react fast enough. And honestly, you die super fast here, so I'm not really going to criticize you for that. And that's the end of the round. Okay, yeah, honestly, good stuff overall. Let me just get a real quick drink. My throat's a little bit dry. So yeah, like I say, I did watch your other videos as well. I watched some previous ones too, and it's a big difference actually. Even just from a couple of months ago, you're playing much better now than you were before. You might not be aware of it, but one bad habit that you did have before was when you were ambushing someone, you were leading in with a charge and then following up with the melter shot. Now, there wasn't really an example of that here, but in other videos I did notice that you're shooting first and then charging to confirm the kill, which is honestly a much better way of doing it. Now, I think, as I've said, the main thing that's going to make a difference is learning that fast swap. I've shown you the technique here, but if you're still struggling, just drop me a message. I'll talk you through it slowly. Well, we can just hop into a private lobby and I'll show you in greater detail, just in case you're still struggling. What else? Yeah, I recommend for the moment switching out the loadout for a the melter perk and with a frag grenade instead. I think you'll just get a little bit more value out of it until you're able to really get some practice done on the fast swap. In terms of animation cancels with the weapon swap on charges, I think that's just something that you could do with a little bit of practice on, you know, because you can clearly do it. You clearly have shown that you know the technique, and you showed in other videos too. It's just a little bit clunky, and you're not quite optimizing it. You can get longer charges in, and then cancel a little bit later for a bit more speed. But yes, overall good stuff. If you've got any questions on any of this, do let me know. As for anyone else who wants me to review some of their footage, just send it to me in any sort of way, shape or form. You can drop me a message, you can link me a video, just upload it to YouTube or Drive or any sort of thing like that. You can send it to my email, but do drop me a message as well, because as Monkey will know, I don't always see those emails. So just if you want me to do it, then just let me know and I will see to that for you. It doesn't have to be tactical. Everything that we've seen so far in VOD reviews has been tactical, but I can review other classes and loadouts as well. Speaking of which, don't play plasma gun, especially if you don't have any other weapon with it, especially if you don't have a melter gun. It's just, I hate it. I really, really hate the plasma gun. I'm not going to go into detail on that here, but yeah, I hate it. But yeah, send in some footage, and in the meantime, I will see you on the battlefield.